Hello, dear one. This is Balsamic Moon Tarot. You are here because you are searching, and I am here because I recognize the searcher in you. Let us discover our fullest potential together. This channel was created intentionally for misfits, orphans, and mystics. All are welcome here, so long as you are kind and respectful. Take each message as it resonates, and leave behind the rest for the person it's meant for. Okay, thank you for allowing me to do my little preamble. This is Balsamic Moon Tarot. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to get right into it. This is a reading for the solar eclipse in Virgo happening on September 21st. Wait, now I'm doubting that information. Let me make sure that's the case. Okay, yes, I'm correct. It is September 21st. So this video is going to come out on that same day, on Sunday. So, oh my gosh, why am I doubting when it, hold on. Okay, yes, the 21st is Sunday. I'm not going to apologize. I was about to say I'm so sorry for not knowing, but this is exactly the energy that is going into this eclipse and going into this reading. It was hard for me to get this reading started because I had such like a perfectionist little like self-doubting, self-critical, tendency right now, and it's actually not very typical of me. So yes, the eclipse is happening in the 29th degree of Virgo, and the Virgo Pisces eclipse cycle has started. We're like midway through it. It started in September 2024. So these themes, are happening in cycles and beginnings and endings and resolutions, and often with eclipses, from what I understand, for people who are greatly impacted by them, especially if you're aware of your natal chart, your astrology, your astrology chart, if you're familiar with how it impacts your chart, for people who are greatly impacted, there are things that just happen that are out of your control. So being receptive and responsive and like intentional and thoughtful is is called for at this time, especially. It's always good to be that way in general, but I think eclipses kind of challenge us to be like patient and trusting. Excuse me. Okay. So, with all that being said, let's get into this reading. This is a collective reading about the eclipse. Take what resonates. I've already pulled a few cards to get an idea about the message, and I also try to give more details about who this message is for, so that in the beginning of the reading, if it locks you in, great. If it's not resonating for you, like, don't try to make it fit. Feel free to skip this video and find something else. But what I got for this collective is the Venom, the King, the Siren, and the Temple. And I also got this message about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. If you're not familiar with that story, check that out. I got this message that, like, you thought you were Goldilocks this whole time, but it turns out you were a bear. I'm not quite sure what that means, so I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind as I go through these cards and this reading. I also got the Devil. Actually, let's spread these out now. The Three of Swords, the Hierophant, the Prince of Swords, also known as the Knight of Swords, the Six of Wands, and the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, beautiful depiction of the Seven of Pentacles. So, Wow, multiple messages coming through. The first thing I want to say is, for this collective, there's been a very long running, like, conflict within you that you've been trying to sort out for some time now. And it's a sense of going after what you want versus going after what you need, and feeling like those two things are mutually exclusive, feeling like if you get what you need, then you have to make do without what you want, right? You have to compromise on that. I also got a message about, like, lacking systemic support or institutional support. So there's a sense of, like, really needing to figure out how to survive and thrive in this world without having much guidance, without having like clear directions, or just even like mentorship, or, you know, positive parenting, positive role models, that sort of thing. But it could also mean, like, very, you know, in a more dire sense, you know, really coming up in this world without any money, any monetary support. You know, really having to be scrappy and independent, you know, just to survive. So I'm getting those messages so far. And I think that with the devil showing up here, as well as the venom and the Three of Swords, like, this is really deep. Like, this is a really deep inner wound. It's like a psychic wound, and it's like a wound that makes you feel like you weren't meant for this world, like you were not supposed to be here, like, you know, like a sense like you're a mistake, which is totally not true. And the thing is, like, we can know that rationally. We can know that that makes no sense. Like, we have every right to be here as everyone else. Like, all people, all souls were born into the world, you know, just because, like, for reasons we won't understand, but this is all our destiny, is to be on the earth plane. And I think that, like, we can know it rationally, but it's really difficult to know it in our hearts, like, that we belong here, that we're not a mistake. And it just, I my heart goes out to you, because I am just getting a very strong sense of that doubt and that lack of faith in oneself, or that lack of regard for oneself. I'm getting a sense of, you know, it's not even coming from you, your soul, your spirit. It's coming from just a lot of programming from decades, even, of you know, these incidents or these episodes in your life that you continually look at as failures. And that's the programming. That's the difficulty right now, is that at any point that, you know, you may feel like your life isn't going well, you tend to look back at your entire life and then just kind of really, you're really hard on yourself, like, oh, that's you know, that's one point where I failed. There's another one. It's like you relive these failures. Okay. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. I'm just trying to, like, really call in the person or the people that this message is for. So this is a message of compassion. This is a message of forgiveness. Like, forgiveness not because you did something bad, more like forgiveness of the past. Just being able to let the past, no matter how painful it is, no matter how difficult it's been to let it go, let this new moon, let this eclipse give you the opportunity to forgive yourself for being human, you know? And I think that's it. It's like, I think you've put a lot of pressure on yourself to be superhuman, to be a saint. And I think one reason why is because you look at the world around you and you look at the people around you, and you just see so much pain and suffering that it's almost like you feel this personal need to overcompensate for the world's problems, you know, like Like I have to be perfect in order for anything to get fixed or anything to get done or resolved. It's like I have to be perfect. I have to be the saint. So let that go, because that's an incredibly self-defeating and painful narrative to be stuck in. And I really, really, really hope that there's any single thing you take away from this. It's that you are not a saint and you don't have to be a saint. And you are loved fully, unconditionally by Creator, just as you are. You are not, this is not a labyrinth, okay? Look at the labyrinth there. You're not put here to pass a test, you know? You're not put here to pass some test, and then if you fail to pass the test, you're just good for nothing. You're just, you know, I know that this sounds kind of extreme, and like maybe some of you are just like, well, obviously I don't think that, but I think that I'm getting at something that can be so insidious. It can be like even beyond, below our awareness. It can be subconscious, that we really, really think we're supposed to be perfect, that we really think we don't deserve unconditional love because we're a failure somehow. You know, it's just a very deep sense of rejection that can be really difficult to navigate. So let's keep going. I want to also bring up something here, because the Knight of Swords is showing up with the Six of Wands, and I do think there's a message here, maybe just more specifically for a few of you, but I do think there's a message here about a recent like personal victory in battling your inner demons. And I think it might have to do with like an episode from the past that you had made up your mind that it meant one thing, but more recently you've discovered for yourself that your conception of it was like misguided, and you're now looking back at this episode from the past and realizing like, actually I succeeded there. Like I stood up for myself, or I stood up for somebody else, you know, or it's like you're admiring your old self. You're admiring that person that you were. And maybe before now you didn't admire yourself, you know, you didn't see anything admirable about yourself. But for some of you, this has happened very recently, that you have reevaluated, you know, actions, your previous actions from the past, and you're actually seeing it in a much more grounded, realistic, and more compassionate light. And it's because you realize that you extend compassion to others, but you don't extend it to yourself a lot of the times. So now is the time to extend compassion to yourself. Just as much as you extend compassion to others, extend it to yourself. We have the Seven of Pentacles here, which is a really beautiful illustration, because it shows this heart, a heart and a star, a 5-pointed star, which makes me think of Venus. And then it even has this crescent moon, which is interesting. So this is like a Seven of Pentacles that's very spiritual. It's very much guided by one's inner calling, inner being, and intuition. And I think you're feeling much more connected to that. You're feeling much more connected to this inner being that, you know, it's always been there. It's always, you know, it's always been part of you. I think you might be somebody who people think of as introverted or like normally quiet. I think you're just a bit more guarded around, you know, people that are new or unfamiliar, and you're rightfully so. You're wary around people that you still have to, you know, judge and discern. So you're very discerning. You have a good judge of character. But anyway, there's a beautiful, it's just a beautiful moment being depicted here. And so I think with this eclipse, you're at a place where you can look back on your life and give yourself more of that grounded compassion. So use this energy It's almost like the inner critic, that inner voice that has been more critical. It's like it's lowering. The volume is lowering. And you're intentionally doing that. Like, you have the space and the desire and the capacity now to reflect on yourself without that programming and that inner critic being so loud and overbearing. Okay. I want to bring up the king here, because this is beautiful energy here. The king is showing up with the venom and the temple and the siren. And so I'm getting here a sense as well that for some of you, you're really connecting your mind-body integration, and you're really connecting the dots with how your treatment of your physical body, like how you feed yourself, how you, yeah, just everything, even like maybe your posture, how you sit. My posture is terrible, but you know, it's like you're connecting how you feel in your body with your own mental and spiritual awareness. And it's giving you a stronger sense of autonomy over yourself, because you feel like you actually have choices. You know now that you have choices, personal choices to make. Whereas maybe even a week ago or a month ago, you felt like this wasn't a choice. You know, compulsive behavior, compulsive self-destructive behavior often feels like you don't have a choice. But this is changing. You know, my body, my temple, this is really changing for you, and you're really deepening that respect and that intuition for in your own body. And it doesn't have to be anything major. It can be super like subtle, but it's so powerful. Just even the most simplest thing, like, you know, figuring out what time to get up in the morning, you know, realizing like, oh, I rush to work, or I rush out my door in the mornings, and it just kind of sets the tone for my day. And then realizing that, like, you know what, if I could just get up 15 minutes earlier, just 15 minutes, just so I can lie in bed and give myself a gentler waking up period, right? Just so I could just lie there with my thoughts and like let my mind wander and not get up to this like loud and obnoxious alarm clock. And you see, it's like, it's those little things. It seems like a little thing, but it happens every day. So it impacts you greatly, especially over time. You know, to sort out something like your sleep cycle, or again, you know, diet, anything related to your physical body. This could be like, even, you know, maybe you have a chronic pain issue, and maybe now you're finally, you know, deciding like, I can't just bear this alone. I need to see somebody about this. I need to see a physical therapist or some, you know. So there's something about that mind body integration that's coming up, where the improvement of your physical body is also really greatly connected to the improvement of your psychological health and your spiritual health, your emotional health. Now let's talk about the siren, because the siren is here too, and it's a really interesting energy because, you know, with the Virgo Pisces axis, this makes me think of Pisces for sure, and how Pisces is like, it's ruled by Neptune. It's a very watery, it is a water sign, but it's also like the ocean water, the depths of the subconscious and the depths of spirituality and mysticism. Pisces kind of gets this stereotype as being like the flaky friend, or like, you know, or like the hippy dippy person who's gonna just completely immerse themselves in nature. And, you know, and like, there's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's funny because Virgo and Pisces are these two polar opposites of on a spectrum, right? And but they're so related to each other. They're two signs that are very spiritual, very, very devotional, very service oriented, and very mystical. You know, Virgo has a very mystical side. And Pisces can be quite a control freak and a perfectionist. So, you know, it's all about the interplay of like the light and shadow with zodiac signs. But I wanted to bring up the siren because I do think there's like a siren song you're hearing. I do think that like it's interesting because there's like two things I'm feeling. I feel like there's a siren song that is a temptation that is very clearly um a temptation that will steer you wrong. Like you know, like you know better, and you really know, like you have this awareness about yourself that whatever you can do to prevent this temptation from having a greater influence over you, like that is just for the positive, only for the positive. Like you know this. There's a second message I'm getting here with the siren, which is that you yourself are quite a siren. You yourself have a very seductive nature to you, and you draw people in, and you draw in towards your life the things that you need. Sometimes it's like the timing is ridiculous. Sometimes the timing is so eerie and like perfect. So I think there is this element here of you, you know, kind of embracing more the seductive side of you, where you magnetize and you draw towards yourself what you need and want. Okay, so it's not about attracting elements that are just going to tear you down, and you know, any people who are just going to like be new projections of your inner critic, right? It's not about that. It's about actually intentionally magnetizing what you need and want. Okay, so this is all related, you know, the mind-body integration, and you're forgiving yourself for being human, and accepting that, you know, you're not a saint. You don't need to be a saint to be loved. So I think that that is the bulk of the message, but I'm going to pull a few more cards just to like, can I get a response to what I said? Can I get confirmations, clarifications? We have the Page of Cups. We have the Nine of Pentacles. I love that card, which is very Virgo energy. And we have the Page of Pentacles. Interesting. So we have two pages here, with the Page of Cups, you know, being a watery energy, Page of Pentacles being earthy energy. And now we have the High Priestess. Nice. So yeah, back to that mystical, sacred side of both Virgo and Pisces. So there is a beautiful complementary energy here of trying new things out, but trying them out from a very like sincere place, like trying things out because you really do have you really do want the best for yourself and for others. So there's like a genuine, nurturing, sincere energy here to nurture the best outcomes. So I think there's this message here of, you know, just try something small that feels a bit new and out of your comfort zone, but take that little risk, you know, take that small risk of trying something new, trying something a bit different, experimenting. This could be with relationships, this could be with work, this could be with, you know, your studies, if you're in college, or you're a student, right? It's just trying something a little bit different. Or, you know, if someone gives you that invitation or that offer, like take it, like take the invitation and just do it for the sake of trying something different. There is a message here of being really like comfortable and supported. So we have the Nine of Pentacles here, which shows somebody in the vineyard where the grapes you know, there's a harvest, there's a crop of grapes that are just looking absolutely magnificent, and this woman who is quite, you know, quite affluent and comfortable, she's able to consider this abundance in her life and think about her legacy, or think about the, you know, how am I going to preserve this, like basically thinking about turning these grapes into wine. So there's this awareness of time and the passing of time, and how you can use it to your benefit, right? Like you have your own experiences and wisdom that you can draw upon. you're not out in this world just completely naive. You're not like a babe in the woods. You know, you have real skills and expertise that is going to be especially useful in the near future. So be aware of that. Be thinking about that, because the 2 pages here can also be showing up as like 2 people who are very drawn to you and like want to assist you, want to support you, because they really see you being like an inspiration or a mentor to them. So they could be 2 younger people, or they could just be 2 people who are inexperienced in something that you are very experienced in, right? And now we have that High Priestess again, which I want to talk about, and maybe we'll wrap this up. So the High Priestess is showing up, and she's very mysterious. She doesn't reveal all. She has her own secrets. So I do think that whatever is going on with this eclipse season, think about keeping some things to yourself. Maybe taking some time for some real solitude, where you can like take time to meditate, or draw or write, or just kind of like commune. I'm even getting that word, like commune with spirit, commune with your higher self. This is a great time for reflection and but peaceful reflection, serenity. This is a great time for letting like the hubbub and like the criticism that is usually there, just letting it quiet itself down. Sometimes you have to sit with yourself for like 20 minutes just before the thoughts start to clear. But that's what I mean, is that you need to give yourself that time. Give yourself enough time to really go into this like contemplative state. And then the High Priestess also, she has a book, right? So she's like very knowledgeable and wise, and she has access to the Akashic records. So there's probably a book or a teacher or spiritual teacher, like spiritual teachings, right? Like maybe, I don't know if you're a religious person, but there could be a spiritual teaching that is especially helpful for you at this time. So if that comes to mind immediately, that's definitely a message for you, just to go check out that book again, or check out that scripture again, whatever that is for you. But there's also, if it's not a book that resonates with you, it's just the idea of words, just the idea of the written words. So I do think like writing your thoughts out and gathering your thoughts on paper, and pen and paper. I'm not talking about typing, pen or pencil, like really put it in your hand and write, and get this very deeper element of you, get it to speak to you. Your intuition is right there below the surface, but I feel like you've been having some trouble really getting it to break the surface and come to your conscious awareness. So if you can really take time out to this eclipse week, or this following week, like to just try to journal more and try to get your inner thoughts out. That would be really helpful. Okay, I am going to pull a couple oracle cards, and then we'll wrap this up. So what is the message for the collective, please? What is the advice message for the collective during this eclipse? Wow, I love it. We have trunk with stability, loyalty, and reliability. And there's this owl, which is really cool. I don't know how to make this focus better, sorry. Stability, loyalty, reliability. There's an owl, and there are mushrooms, and there are changing leaves. So this is really also taking a step back to think about like, what are those elements in your life that have been stable for you, especially through times of instability? What has always been there? What has always been true to you, true for you? What has always been true for you? The owl is very wise, so there's a lot of wisdom coming through at this time. There's a discernment too, right? So Virgo is very discerning, so there's a discernment that you can bring to your life right now. similar to that Seven of Pentacles energy. Very, very, you know, this is about reflection and evaluation. So yeah, beautiful. Reliability. I think someone or something is also showing up in your life that in a way that is more reliable, and that is going to help you plan your next steps and think about the future in a way that is, you know, very positive and exciting. And last card will be from this deck here. I love this oracle deck. Lots of animals, I feel, coming up. Not so much in these cards, but I just feel like the energy of animal spirits, animal guides is really coming up. So I think you may be an animal lover or someone who really identifies with certain animals. Lovely. We have opportunity. So there's a woodpecker and a bee and this red door, the door of opportunity, someone knocking at the door. So the red color really makes me think of manifestation and the manifest, you know, the manifest world, the manifest reality. So a very clear opportunity arrives, okay? And it goes back to those pages. You are drawing towards you that support, those opportunities, the people who are, you know, going to be really excited to work with you, or, you know, spend time with you, have, you know, companionship. If you're searching for companionship, friendship, romance, collaboration, I really feel like this inner work that you're doing now is going to magnetize you, and it's going to draw towards you all the people, things, and elements that are both needed and wanted, right? So remember, I said at the beginning that you might tend to think that what you need and what you want are mutually exclusive, but I think this is a really beautiful time where you're going to understand and understand for yourself that your needs and your wants don't have to be two separate things. They can be integrated. They can be supportive of each other, okay? And you're figuring that out for yourself now. So congratulations. Really love this for you. This collective is amazing. Thank you so much for being here. And if this helped you out, please do click the like button, share the video, subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate chiming in the comments, letting me know just any of your thoughts. That would be a tremendous help to me. So thank you so much for being here. Take care.